Welcome to another edition of All Octaves with me, Val Kleinhans, where we chat with the musicians who make music and the fans who love it. We have some musicians on today from Loudmouth Brass. We have John and Alex in the building. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here for this momentous occasion. We're excited for something pretty big, aren't we?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us. We're excited about a new record coming out and can't wait to talk to you about it.
I know. So I read a little bit. It's called Rearview. I know we're going to have a big party at Thesis for this when it's coming out on May 7th. So mark your calendars for this. Tell me all the goods. Let's just get right into it. Tell me about the making of the album, the name, everything.
Sure. So the album's named Rearview, and that's actually one of the tracks on the record. It was written by our very first tenor saxophone player. His name is Zach Sanders. But Zach has left the band, but since then still contributes music to us. So that's kind of what the title of the album came from. And the record's got eight tracks on it with a little bonus track. So it's been written by different members of the band. It's all instrumental and it's like poppy brass music, kind of in the style of New Orleans brass music. How do you describe it, Alex?
Yeah, that's pretty right on. A lot of people that come and see us are not expecting that. They're expecting, or they see horns and they expect jazz or some sort of big band thing, and then they get
Mm.
pleasantly surprised by our raucous nature.
Yes, so they are pretty poppy tunes. I mean, there's maybe some relationship to jazz in that we do have improvisation for sure, which is a very kind of jazz thing to do. But yeah, it's definitely like kind of a pop sound. And the whole record is instrumental except one of the tracks, one of the ones that I wrote the music for features Jay Havoc doing a little bit of rapping with us, and he's somebody who
Mm-hmm.
we have kind of interacted with in the past. But that track is called Silhouette of Silence, and it's kind of cool to add in that whole like hip hop or brass hop kind of aspect, if you will. So that's one that we're kind of pretty excited about.
Yeah. Alex, I know you love production and you have your hands involved in some of this. Was that the case with this project or not so much?
Yeah, so it was kind of a joint effort between Zach Zern and I. Um, we went down for a day and tracked everything, including drums and all like the main horn parts at Zach's studio. And then we took it up to my studio and put all the solos on, and then I mixed it. So yeah, it was kind of a joint effort. But after that one day of tracking at Zern's place, we did it all at mine.
There it is. Love
So,
it.
so some part of it both at Carpet Booth, which is Zach's place, and then Blue Lagoon, which is Alex's place. So yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Maybe there's an opportunity for like different sounds and different little elements to add in there and experiment with and have fun with that you haven't before. Is that true or?
Yeah, definitely. And the one track that we really did that quite a bit with on this record, I would say, is that Silhouette of Silence track, which actually we recorded at RCTC with students there, but
Mm.
we included, some goofy stuff like a gong and some other things in there. And then also we had a couple of additional players like a string bass player and a keyboard player and stuff on that. So definitely had some different sounds. And then I would say like overall the production for this record ended up being different from our first two. So the first project that we put out, I think that was in 2018. It was called Loud and Proud. And then in 2020 we put out another project called Louder. And both of those are like pretty live recordings where we didn't really we take multiple takes of the same track, but then pretty much like take the take. And to some extent, this record is like that too. But there's a lot more like post production on it that Alex did,
Mm.
and it's a much more I would say like produced and cleaner sound. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah. I had never worked with a brass band before, so I kind of put my spin on it. I work with, you know, rock bands, folk bands, and stuff like that, primarily rock bands. So I took that production style and kind of applied it to a horn band. So yeah, it's a lot different than any other horn band record that you'll hear, unless somebody else has done that before, which I don't know. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on, and I think it turned out really really well.
Yeah, I'm excited. And so, just for anybody that doesn't know, are instrumentals the norm for loudmouth brass, or is it always been a mix of that and vocals?
You know, Loudmouth Brass pretty much plays instrumentals. So like when we're doing a show, we'll do a lot of covers, but they're
Mm,
instrumental versions of covers. So, you know, like we'll play like Take on Me, or
yeah.
something like that that's very recognizable, but it's an instrumental version of that cover. So you know, people are singing along and stuff, but we don't usually feature a vocalist. Though we have collaborated with different rappers on two, you know, for this one we got Jay Havoc, but on other projects we sometimes have included a rapper, and even at like some of our live shows like at Midwest Music Fest or whatever, we might have somebody jump up with us, which is just kind of a fun little addition. And that's kind of like there is a tradition of like intermingling kind of like the hip hop vibe and brass band vibe. I mean, like one of my big influences, the Youngblood brass band, out of Wisconsin. I mean, they do that all the time, and there's certainly like this New Orleans tradition of having some hip hop mingled in with
Hmm.
brass bands. I mean, when brass bands started off, you know, I mean, they were kind of doing the whole funeral march thing in New Orleans. You know, so we're from that tradition, but it's been altered and modified, you know. So there's definitely some well-known brass bands that are you know we're standing on their shoulders for sure. But then that tradition, you know, has kind of like modified over the years. So you know, we're kind of like more in the vein of something like Lucky Chops or something, where the group is a lot smaller. So there's six of us.
Hmm.
So you know, we've got John Knutson on trumpet. We've got Rebecca Combs Colley on sousaphone, Eric Stashik on Barry saxophone, Melanie Brooks Din on tenor saxophone, myself, John Sievers on trombone, and then Alex is playing drums. So like a you know a traditional brass band from New Orleans would typically be bigger than that, and like it might actually use like a marching bass drum and a marching snare, so it could be totally mobile. Whereas like we're using you know a kit, like Alex is playing a drum set. We're kind of smaller, which gives us more places that we can play, and just makes it more manageable. I mean, it's hard enough with six of us to like schedule a rehearsal or something, you know. I mean, like
Right.
you say, oh, hey, can we rehearse on this day? And then you get like everyone saying, oh no, we can't make that or whatever. So that gives us a little more flexibility that way.
Yeah, combining hip hop sounds and brass sounds. I mean, that's been done numerous times before. And it's one of my favorite things in the world. I was just bumping De La Soul today. They're like, to me, that one of the bigger rap groups that like has done it numerous times. I know. I love that song particularly. How do you make it work with so many members in this band? There's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of schedules. How do you guys just say, screw it, we're going to focus on working together and making this thing awesome? Because that's what it looks like on the outside.
I don't know, Alex, you want to jump on that one?
um, scheduling's more your thing, but in terms of like opinions and stuff like that, it does take a lot of conversation. Um,
Yeah.
and some people care a lot and other people's don't, which is totally fine. Like there's going to be people that are just like, yeah, well, whatever, I don't care, and then which doesn't help. And then other people who are like, I need this and this and this and this, which can help or not help.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, that's going to be the case for any band, even if it's not six people. um,
Yeah, I mean, I think like a band is a relationship, and a real relationship doesn't work unless there's some good communication going on. So it kind of just takes a lot of communication. I mean, in terms of like scheduling and stuff, it's just kind of persistence and like, okay, do I is this thing that we're trying to do like worth it? And if it is, then
Mm.
you keep on it. And if you don't think it is, then it falls to the wayside. I mean, so Loudmouth Brass started, I think, in like 2017, and the very first show that we did was at Pure Rock Studios in Rochester here, and it was kind of like a thank you concert for like students and staff and stuff at Pure Rock. So
Mm.
Ryan Utterback there, had us do that. And I remember we had only had like maybe, I don't know, a couple of rehearsals before that, like 3 rehearsals. Like the core band kind of came out of actually Rochester Community Band. A couple people had been in that, like I think Becca and Zach, and then they kind of got together for a rehearsal. I think there's maybe one rehearsal I wasn't at, and then I came to the second rehearsal. Like after I heard the couple of arrangements that we did, a lot of the arrangements came from Eric Stashik. I was like, let's book something, because like in my opinion, a band like needs to have a show,
Yeah.
and then they become a band. So pretty much right from the start, I was like, well, let's go ahead and book a show, and that gave us something to work towards. Alex, when did you join the band?
Um, was it last year or the year before?
I know. It
I
feels like you've always been part of it.
Yeah, so here's um if you ask me when something happened, I will not be able to tell you because my chronological memory is absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like it's been like, I don't know, a year and a
year,
half or
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Um, so our first drummer was Nick Novotny before we had Alex, and he just got busier with other projects and whatever. And you probably know him from like organizing the Rochester Thaw or whatever, which we just had a great time performing at. And
Yeah.
Jay Havoc jumped up with us at that, which was a lot of fun. But so in the band right now, I mean, that's another thing. Like over time, as you lose members or gain members, that things keep shifting. So right now, of the 6 of us, 4 of us are original members, which is actually pretty amazing. But our saxophone player, our tenor saxophone player, Melanie Brooks, then she joined us after our first saxophone player. Well, we had 2 tenor saxophone players before her, and they both moved away from the area. So,
Okay.
and then as they moved away, we were able to luckily replace them with awesome people and still have good relationships with them. I mean, on this record, Rearview, like I said, there's the title track actually is written by Zach Sander, who was the founding member but hasn't been with the band for a while. And then actually there's another track on the record that he also wrote, that's called Rule the Roost. So I think that's one exciting thing about this record, is that like from song to song, I mean, yeah, they're all brass band music, but they sound pretty different. I mean, there's definitely different influences there. Like one song that was written by our Barry player, Eric Stashik, Starburst. He says it's kind of like influenced by like anime
Yeah.
music and things like that. And and
More
then
contemporary than like what people might think when they first hear brass band.
oh,
What comes to mind?
definitely. Yeah, yep. But some of the songs too, like one song called Popcorn has kind of more of a like a Latin vibe to it, and Alex gets to play some, what is that thing? The Agogo Bell, is that what it is, Alex?
What
Yep.
is a go-go
Ding,
bell?
ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Is
Uh,
it like a cowbell?
yeah, but it's got like 2 of them.
Oh, okay. So close.
And
Yeah.
So
and
it's uber cowbell,
it's like
major
that.
cowbell.
It's like that. You hear it in like Brazilian music quite a bit. There's like
Mm.
2 like cone-shaped metal pieces that are connected together by a U, and one is like higher pitched and one is lower pitched.
Oh, okay. Maybe I need to go back and listen to Sepultura's Roots album because they have like a lot of like original like Brazilian instruments in that particular album, and I'm like, okay, maybe I might hear it in one of those. But
Yeah, could be. I'm not sure.
cool. So I'm not surprised to hear that, I was surprised. Well, I was surprised. I'll rephrase this to hear that you've only been together since 2017 because it feels like it's been forever. And I'm not surprised that you keep good relationships with, band members who've come and gone. And, some of them are able to help, some of them aren't able to help, but it doesn't matter to you. You maintain a good relationship with all of them. When I moved here almost 7 years ago, I knew I would have to make friends fast. And one way I think you could do that is just by putting yourself out there, introducing yourself, and finding like minded people to hang out with. And Rochester has done that with its own scene. And John, I think you're at the center of a lot of it. So
Well,
why is connecting, with people and maintaining those relationships so important to you?
yeah, I guess for me, it's just like I love music, right? That's what it comes down to, basically.
Period.
And music. I love music of all sorts and kinds, and there's nothing more exciting for me than seeing like a live show of whatever it is. So like, if it's something, I teach English at Rochester Community Technical College and do a lot of writing. So like over the years, I've tried to do my best to like write about local music for, the 507 magazine when we had that, or the Rochester Post Bulletin. And it's just like I love doing that. So that's why I like to do it. I think maybe Val, I feel like the first time that maybe I met you in person, this might be incorrect. You can tell me if I'm wrong, was maybe at the Redwood Room, or that might have been the first time that
Could
you
have
heard
been.
my other group play the Deceivers.
Right, because that's why I'm saying it feels like you've just been around here forever, period. Because I don't know a time living here where you haven't been involved in something. So it would make sense. And yeah, we probably did meet around that time because it's been about 7 years that I've been
Yeah,
here.
I mean, like, so you know, I play in lots of different groups and love lots of different groups. Like right now, I do like a more like straight ahead jazz thing with the Deceivers, but I'm also playing in like Lasagna's band, Soul Train, and part of the horn section for that. And like you're talking about like why are those relationships important? I think they're just important because like if you can keep good relationships with a lot of musicians and the scene, whether they're musicians or not, but music lovers, it just like opens up more possibilities for you to hear different things, learn different things, see the world from different perspectives. I think that's what's important. I don't know, Alex, you're really at the center of a lot of stuff too. You're
Yeah.
in different groups, and what's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of like a child of the scene and kind of
So your dad or your mom was involved before. I think you told me
no,
about your dad.
that's the I mean like I came here not knowing anybody, right? Besides like one friend that I've known from high school.
Okay.
So I wasn't part of the scene back in 2016 when I moved here. But what I meant from that, maybe child of the scene is not an appropriate um, term, but through things like open mic nights and jazz jams and stuff like that, which John has been responsible for, I got to be an integral part of the music scene in Rochester.
Oh, like an adopted child. Like, come
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
sir.
yeah, yeah.
We want you
Yeah.
to join our crew. Got it. I was like, I took it literally, completely.
No, no,
But okay, because
no.
well, last time we talked, you were like, "Hey, my dad was this great musician. He taught me some things," and I was like, "Oh, it must have been his dad." I get it now.
Yeah, but yes, I am a child of a musician as well. But no, yeah. So like, my point being, marketing yourself and like getting out there and talking to people and networking is so
Right.
important for anybody in a music scene, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be part of the scene. The one thing I wish I could do more of is go see live shows, but normally I'm playing shows, so I can't go see
Yeah.
live music when I'm playing live music. Um, so it's always a good thing when I have an open Friday or Saturday night and I can actually go see a show.
Does meeting new people or introducing yourself to new people come naturally to either of you, or did you have to like work on that skill and kind of flex it like a muscle?
Yeah, I don't like to approach people without reason.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got you. Yeah.
and kind of just be like, "Hey, my name's Alex. Here's my business card. Like, call me."
I know
Um,
some people are really good at that, and I'm just like,
yes,
hello, I have a purpose, and
I am
maybe you'll
not.
value me if I have purpose.
But that's kind of the beautiful thing about music, though, is that like the music
Hi.
becomes the purpose. Oh, hey, I mean, like it gives you a reason for having contact with someone. I mean, actually, as like a trombone player, one thing that's crazy about that is that no one wants a solo trombone player, right? I mean, like if you're a guitar player, you can go out and like do a show by yourself or whatever, but no one wants a solo trombonist. So you're forced to be like connecting with people and
Mm,
joining with other musicians in order to like even make music, which is kind of one of the cool things about loudmouth brass is that all these instruments like need each other, in order to make a sound together. One of the things I'm super pumped about for our show at Thesis on May 7th is that my daughter Eleanor, who's been doing some local shows on her own, she's actually going to debut her new band,
that's
opening up
my
for us at
question.
5.
Yes, I love. Okay, because I did read there's a new band newer to Rochester. I'm not even super familiar with them yet, but Beginner's Luck. So that's the connection. Your daughter's involved
Yeah, so that's
with
gonna
them.
be like their
Okay.
their first. It's gonna be like their first show. And my daughter is singing and playing guitar in it, and they're doing some originals, but they're also doing a lot of covers. Like everything from like Nirvana to Weezer. And the cool thing about that band too is that one of Alex's students is a drummer in that.
Oh, cool.
Um, so it's kind of neat to just have that whole ability to like let some new younger people have a shot at doing this thing that we love.
So
Yeah,
naturally, the drummer is really good.
obviously. I mean, you taught him a thing or two.
But yeah, I didn't know she was gonna stop by, but she popped in. This is
Hi.
this is Becca.
Hi, Becca.
Hi.
Becca's in Loudmouth Brass too for anybody that's listening.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is not just some rando that walked in on the
Not to,
street.
we're not
Yeah, no,
just,
I
who's
play
this
all
Becca
music.
chick? No.
No, I play sousaphone and loudmouth. I was just dropping some stuff off on my way home from work.
Fun. So you're excited for Rearview too, I imagine. What are your thoughts on the album?
Oh, I think when it really comes down to it, I feel like this is so in line with our our sound is, more
Mm.
so than, the first EP, even more so, in my opinion, than our first full album, Louder. I think that what you're going to hear is a lot of different styles in it that you might not think about those when you're like, oh yeah, Loudmouth plays that one song, or that one cover. But I think it hits a lot of different styles and shows off kind of who we are. A lot of the songs are super varied. Um, I really like the style changes. Like I cannot underscore that enough. Like even some of the songs that John's put together, like the song Popcorn as compared to the song Abigail, are just all the way on different corners. And I think that's what you really get when you go to a loudmouth show, is you'll hear something that's like really familiar and poppy, and then you'll be challenged with maybe some like kind of Latin feeling piece or
Mm.
just some jazz stuff. So I'm always impressed with the music that Eric and John and Zach and our other drummer, our first drummer Nick, have put together. But I really think that this is like, oh, this is the loudmouth sound.
What are you all most proud of about the record? Open to anybody, take it.
Oh, that's a good
I mean,
question.
I guess I'll say what I'm proudest about is just that like getting it done. you know,
Yeah.
this is like when you start a project like this, it's like there's a lot of steps along the way. And we started working on this, I think, like before the pandemic, and or at
Oh,
least
so
like
this has
right at
been a long time coming.
right. Yeah, I mean, like, so the last thing that we put out was in 2020. And I mean, I remember already, like, when we were putting out Louder in 2020, I was already like, saying, hey, let's get ready for the next one. What are our next songs or whatever. And we've had some delays, definitely. Like, at one point in time, we were going to have a live show and actually do like a live show recording for this record. And then various things kind of happened, including COVID, that made that like tough to do, and it just kind of fell apart. So it's just nice to like get things that the band has created out there. And I want to share the music that we make with other people, and that's just what I'm proudest of, is being able to share some music that we as a band have made.
Do you have any anxiety at all about like whether you're releasing something new in album form or show form? Does one or the other make you more nervous at all? Or maybe you're totally comfortable with both?
I could hop on that one. I think by the time that, at least in our process, that we're ready to record an album, a lot of those tunes have played a lot, and they're tried and true, and they're super tight. So sometimes the hardest part is like premiering something for the first time and just thinking like, how is this going to go live? But after that first run, it's just perfecting it and finding a groove together. So yeah, by the time we're recording, it is like, this is the definite how you should hear this.
I mean, we took 2, maybe 3 takes on each song.
Oh yeah.
Down at Carpet.
Wow.
So it's not like, we're taking 5 or 6 takes. Just because, yeah, we've been playing all these songs for months before we went into the studio.
That speaks to how you work as a musician and how you guys work together.
Yeah, but this type of music kind of necessitates that, though, because we couldn't really go in and do it like a rock record where, okay, Becca's gonna lay down all the sousaphone first, and then John's gonna come in and play trombone, because like all the parts are necessary for the other parts to work and to like, so it's a very much a different animal than like a typical rock record. So having 1 or 2 takes through the whole song makes sense.
Okay. I'm curious, why is that so necessary for just to be that in sync versus tracking separately? Is it because you feed off each other's mood, or sound cues, audio cues? Why is that so necessary?
Well, everything is composed. So everything is written out and composed. I mean, I guess minus some drum parts.
Yeah, I didn't compose in the mice part, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that everything is, it's the vision of this is what the piece is going to sound like. And in those rehearsals, and even sometimes in live performance, we make some changes. So like maybe what we're playing at the end doesn't look exactly like what's on the sheet, but we've all come to music through, I mean, minus, yeah, you went to Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've all come to music through kind of what you might consider like little C classical training. So we're all readers. And John, I mean, he writes pieces, and he's got the bass line is written out, and it fits in with the Barry line. It fits in with, what's going on with the melody, if it's passing to trumpet or tenor or trombone. It's all kind of there on the page. Would you agree, John?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, in terms of like why record together, I mean, I think some of it has to do with like, in a traditional like rock band or whatever, like the guitarist can play a chord and you've got that whole chord, right? But like in loudmouth brass, like if we're gonna play a chord, it takes at least like 3 of us to make that chord, right? So if we're not playing at the same time, like things like tuning, even though Alex did some work on tuning maybe post recording, like it's just hard to make that happen if you're not all hearing each other at the same time. I think that's part of it. I mean, I do think like the energy of it is part of it as well. And when we recorded at Carpet Booth, we were in all different rooms, so we're all in a separate room but recording at the same time, so we're listening to each other through headphones. And but like just being able to have that energy of the other players, even though you're just looking at them through a window or whatever, is still, I think, important.
Yeah. From start to finish, this really is everybody's involved from the very beginning, from the composition to the writing, and then to the eventual playing and recording and then performing thereafter. So it's not quite like a hip hop or rock band where, you know, one day somebody goes off in a different room and goes, hey man, I wrote this, and then brings it to the rest of the band and, okay, how can we fit this in? And yeah, I wrote this too and I think it would sound cool. It's not like that. Those are separate parts coming in together. For you,
I mean, I
it's
think
start to finish. Yeah, it's everybody together.
I mean, I do think that the initial composition process for this is very actually alone. Like where, you know, if Eric Stashik, our Barry player, writes a song, like he's sitting down at his computer with some software and he's actually writing out parts for all of us. He brings it to rehearsal, we get together and then like can play it right there, you know. So I mean, that did like that piece, Starburst that Eric wrote, that came out of his head, and then he brought it to the band, and like, you know, at the first rehearsal, we were able to like make it sound something like what he wanted because he's notated everything down on sheet music. But then as we play it, you know, it starts to take a shape, perhaps, you know. But the composition of it did come right from Eric, or did come right from Zach, you know. Like when Zach wrote a song, he wrote it down and then he emailed it to us, right? And then we printed it off and we can get some feedback from him and whatever else. But it's like it's Zach's song, right? Or if I write a song, it's like I wrote a song, printed it off on pieces of paper, brought it to the group, and then all together we worked on making it happen together.
Oh, okay, got it. What was the moment that, well, I guess what I really want to ask is the moment that you realized, wow, we sound really good together and we're doing like such a good job at this together. We should continue doing this. What was that moment like? Do you remember realizing that?
It wasn't the first show.
Was it?
No, I think when we were given opportunities by, you know, folks around town that would, you know, just book us, Jive Mill was one of them. John, can you remember? I'm blanking right now because it's been a long teaching day. Name the people who own the Jive Mill.
Yeah, Chris and Noel Roberts.
Thank you, Chris and Noel Roberts. Like when they gave us that opportunity to come in and play some of our stuff, and then you know, we played. I'm gonna forget everyone's name. We opened up for Harmar for a show at Kathy's, and like things just kept tightening up. You know, we played at the No Name in Winona, and it just kept getting better and better. So I'm not really sure if there was like a one moment, but it just kept getting tighter. And
well,
me personally,
I think like
when I stopped feeling super nervous about it.
Becca, correct me if I'm wrong here. Wasn't our second show? Didn't we open up for Cloud Cult for our second show?
That might have been that was 3 or 4. Yeah.
But it was like right there near the beginning.
Right.
I mean, and I guess I would disagree with Becca a little bit. I felt like at our first show at Pure Rock, I was like, heck yeah, let's go. You know, I mean, like even before that show started at rehearsal, I was like, okay, let's book a show. You know, I mean, it's like this sounds good.
You were the one who showed up at our second rehearsal and said, okay, when do we have a gig? So John has always had he's always been like the front runner of getting us out and playing places. Like I thought we were just going to play a couple of cute little bar band stuff. And he's like, no, let's get a gig.
And now it's turned into this.
That was an interesting comparison to see how John and Becca view shows significantly differently. Like John's just like, heck yes, I'm ready to go. And Becca's like, oh gosh, we've got it.
You know, one step at a time. Yeah.
And I'm somewhere in between those two.
Oh, okay. So when you feel like that was a good show, what's going on in your mind? What was happening? What tells you had a good show?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
It's mostly my playing. Because you know, everybody else in the band always plays well, at least to my ear, because I don't play saxophones, trombones, trumpets, things like that. So I can't really sit there and critique them very well. So yeah, it's usually like, oh, I played really, really well. That felt nice. So that's me. I'm more introspective in terms of like coming off a show and being like, okay, how did we do? And it's more just about how did I do?
Fair enough. And what do you hope fans get from Rearview when they hear it?
I hope they get up and dance.
Always.
At least to some of them. Some of them are slower than others, but yeah, there's definitely some danceable stuff. Definitely some headbangable stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a couple bops, couple jams, couple, you know.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's just an all around good time for sure.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm kind of excited about having a song that I had written originally, like with lyrics and for a completely different kind of band, like materialize with Loudmouth Brass. I wrote this song called Abigail that's on the record, which is a song that I wrote for my daughter when she was really little. And I mean, there's a whole version of that I have at home that's got like, you know, a bass and drums and guitar and me singing on it and stuff. And it's cool just to like see that song translate to this other kind of genre and still work in this other genre, which is just kind of a cool thing for me.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the recorded version translates live at Thesis. Thank you all so much. We're excited for the show. We're excited for the album. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and walking us through it.
Thanks, Val.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.